Wonderful. Welcome back, our panelists. I would like to give a warm welcome to our first panelist, Carol Blair, past International Director and DTM. She is from District 99. Our second panelist, Nadia Gilkes. She is a DTM and a Public Relations Manager from District 115. Marianne Grady, Competent Communicator, Advanced Leader Bronze, Public Relations Manager from District 38. Abihijeet Joshi, from Vice President of Education from District 101. And our final panelist is Nehal Tanna, a DTM Administration Manager of District 37. Welcome, everybody. Tonight's topic, how do we inspire quality in our clubs? I'm going to give everybody a couple of minutes to let's begin our conversation. Carol, I'd like to start with you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, fellow panelists, fellow Toastmasters, and guests who have joined this evening. I'm going to give you what my take on quality is. And it's rolled into an expression that I've used, and it can apply to many aspects in life. But generally, I believe if you don't commit to quality in everything you do in Toastmasters, you'll never become everything Toastmasters can help you become, nor can we help others become all that they can become. So it's about realizing your potential and helping others to realize theirs. So my focus tonight, or areas I'm interested in exploring, is what are those human traits that deliver on quality? There are three that stand out for me, and one of them is commitment. And I don't mean a superficial commitment, I mean a deep commitment, where we're deeply committed to learning, to growth, to changing our club environments, making sure they continue to be dynamic and enthusiastic for people to learn. The second trait, I believe, is hard work and being tough-minded on standards. Now that sounds really kind of rigid perhaps, but I believe we have to know and understand what are the standards of excellence, and we have to demonstrate those in everything we do, because that's how people learn what kinds of behaviors are expected. And the third one is we need to be kind and courteous with each other as we're learning. We need to be encouraging to people with their strengths. We need to give very responsible and meaningful feedback to help people grow. There's an expression I'll use, or a quote actually, by Steve Prefontaine, who says, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice your gift." And that's what I want to avoid in Toastmasters by focusing on quality. Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Carol. Next, I would love to hear from Nadia.
Hi, Carol. How are you? And how are you to all of the attendees tonight? Thank you for having me. I like to focus on why we walk through those doors the first time. And I always encourage people, never forget why you're here. What did you intend to accomplish? And I try to make sure that I am always achieving those goals. Every time I go to a meeting, I try to take something away from one of the speeches. I try to take something away from the evaluation, and I am always trying to make sure that I am growing and moving forward in my own personal journey. And it's amazing when you start talking to people in and out of your club, you don't realize who you inspire by just letting your light shine and walking your walk. So I always encourage people, have fun, because that's first and foremost. If it's not fun, you're not going to do it. Learn, make sure you know what you're wanting to achieve. and continue working to that. And I encourage everyone to hold each other accountable. If you're a club board member, you should know why every member is there, what their goal is, and check in on them. Make sure that they are achieving it. And if not, what can you do to help? And you as the member that is there seeking the help and seeking the growth, make sure that you're vocal about what you need, what you'd like to see. And always make sure that you are remembering why you walk through that door. Take advantage of the communication opportunities every single time. Don't be disgruntled when you get called for table topics and you weren't feeling it that night. Take advantage of every opportunity to step on a stage and every opportunity to take something away from an evaluation, and always put in on your growth, which is why we're all here.
Thank you, Nadia. Nehal?
Hello and good evening, everyone, and good evening, Carol. Thank you for having me here today. I strongly believe in a couple of things, and I personally even follow them. First one is leading with the example. That is, anything that I expect people to do or expect my members to do, I would first of all doing it to them or with them or for them, just to make sure that they know that I not only preach, but I practice, and I also strongly believe in it. In addition, the second point that I practice and I would like to make sure that all of my members are also experiencing that is authenticity. I like to be authentic. I strongly believe and promote authenticity. And I also believe that being yourself and being comfortable with yourself can bring a lot more confidence and can bring a lot more of you for people and with people that can help you go further and achieve your goals. And lastly, being vulnerable. I also believe, and I practice rigorously to be vulnerable. Just like Melissa mentioned, I used to be a very private person, meaning that I used to be described by people as a person having a wall around me, like an imaginary transparent wall. And I would not let anyone in because of my experiences or because of anything similar that life had shown me or made me experience. But as I grew older and older, and here I am 95 years old today, I did realize that being vulnerable is the best thing that you can do to yourself. And it's the best gift that you can give it to the person who you're interacting or working with. That's all I have to say for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nehal. Abihijeet?
Yes. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, fellow panelists, and hello, Toastmasters. I have three things for us. I think the first thing is very similar to what Nehal said and what Melissa said. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. So it matters what I bring to the table. If I am giving my best, then it inspires others to give their best. The second thing, the camaraderie and connection in the club. If we have that connection and camaraderie, it really helps to have that support, and it helps us to take that next step. The third thing, the chance to learn from the best. If we have access to people who can help us to take that next step, maybe as a coach, maybe as a mentor, that can really help not only ourselves, but also the club. So those are the three things which I wanted to share today. Thank you, Madam Carol.
Thank you, Abihijeet. Marianne?
Thank you, Carol, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I think that Ralph Smedley at one point said, we learn best in moments of enjoyment. And creating a culture and club atmosphere that contributes to that enjoyment so people want to come back and learn more. I believe this starts when a member walks through the door and you ask them, why are you here? And you, as the leaders of the club, have to understand what they want from you. and then you have to deliver. And that's through mentorship, through good training, through good leadership in your club. A lot of times I've noticed there are clubs that have leaders who are checking a box, like they have to fill a role to get the next thing they want. And we really have to have people who are actually dedicated and really care about the quality of the club. And, you know, I've been lucky enough to be in a club for 10 years that has been full of people like that. Another thing I do think that we need to, as Toastmasters in general, think about, and this came to my mind a couple years ago. As a human resource professional, I was doing a lot of research on generational differences in the workplace. And I really thought it carried over to the Toastmaster atmosphere as well, because the things that Toastmaster was designed around years ago might not be always applicable today. So understanding what our younger members want and need is important so that we are meeting the needs of all of our members, not just the people who are in the top tier who signed up for what we, you know, the manual kind of program. So Pathways is a great first step in that, and they have things that transfer well into the business world. But I think we have a lot of things to start with, and we just have to kind of take them to that next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. As clubs, great advice in learning more about the people who are coming into the club and finding out what their goal is. Maybe more assessment tools. I'm not quite too sure. What one thing that you feel is lacking that we can actually add to improve the quality? That could be whether it's more somebody greeting them. Maybe it could be another form that they need to fill out for questionnaire. Is there something that just jumps right at the forefront? Marianne?
A few years back, we decided to keep 2 greeters at the door because, let's face it, we all know how hard it is to walk through that door for the first time. And so we greet people. We actually give them a neon colored badge so that everyone knows they are a visitor and need special attention from everyone. And we believe that it's everyone's job to make them feel welcome. So we seat them with a member who helps them go over the agenda and understand what's happening. And, you know, we follow up at the end of the night, but it's worked well, and we are converting a lot of the people who walk through the door.
Abihijeet?
We had one new member walk in the door. He was afraid of speaking in front of the people, and he would become so nervous that he would start stuttering. So just talking to him and staying with him really helped to boost his confidence. And the second thing, what we did was, I sat in front of him when he was giving the speech. And I told him, just look at me while giving the speech. So that really helped him to boost his confidence, just having that connection. And he was so grateful for that opportunity. That really makes a difference in people's life if we can have that kind of a connection.
Wonderful. Nehal?
Carol, that's a great question. I would relate it more with my personal experience that I had and how I was able to help somebody overcome that. I believe in creating a safe space for that person or for that new member or for that person who's struggling. How do I know that it works? Because I had seen that happen for me. I came to this country in 2013, not knowing English at all. I could not read, write, or speak English. I learned English in 2013 in Charlotte, North Carolina, went to the university, graduated with 4.0, and then moved on. And that's when I joined Toastmasters in 2017, late 2016, 2017. And it was my very first speech. Now, it was not only just a first speech, but it was a very first speech in front of 20 people in the club who I didn't know of. And more importantly, that speech was in English. English is my fifth language. So even when I speak now, at times I end up translating from a couple of languages to English, and also make sure in the same amount of time that my sentence structure is not jeopardized, so that nobody knows that I know English for 5 years. So it was my first speech, and when I was very nervous entering the door, and it was my first speech, I'm getting ready. You can see that on my face. I was totally pale and my eyes were like popped out, like somebody's almost going to ask me to die or leave the room or leave the job, something on the similar lines. That time, director of the company, it was a corporate club, was also part of the Toastmasters Club and also part of the meeting that day. And he made sure to share just a little bit in 30 seconds, impromptu, sharing his experience as to one of his weaknesses that probably people would not want to share with the first timers. And he did that. That made me feel that, hey, there are people like me who doesn't have everything and who are learning in certain aspects. So it's okay if I don't do 100% well. And guess what? I'm not going to be judged.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nehal. Nadia, you had one thing that you wanted to add?
Yes, I really think it's just important to find out why the member is there, tap into what's driving them. Most of the time they're looking for a promotion in their company, they're trying to start a new business and sell themselves, or for some reason go out into the community and give presentations. And I'll never forget one meeting recently where we had a newer visitor. She came and she enjoyed the meeting, and we asked her what was going on in her life, and she wanted to start giving speeches in schools, and she had to give one in a few days to a high school class, and she was nervous about it, so she just wanted to get tips and see what we do. And we said, well, come on up, do you have your speech? Give it now. And she gave it in that moment. She wasn't even a member yet, and we gave her feedback and told her what direction we thought would be a better direction to go in and help her fine tune. And being able to show her in real time to her situation what we actually do and how this translates to your real world and how we are trying to embrace you and really help you grow, that was the selling point for her. And I think that's the selling point for many. What are they trying to do in life, and how can we help them get there?
Wonderful. What great examples you have. Being with them, finding more information about them, and leading by example. The next question I'd like to pose to the panelists is, how do we, to maintain quality at a club, not just in the physical sense, not just in a meeting, but let's talk about the speeches, and how do we encourage Toastmasters to meet their objectives in their speech? Going through a speech just to tick it off, as was said earlier, may be their objective, but is that really benefiting them? Carol.
Thank you. I apologize. My internet is very unstable, so I lost you for a moment there, or a few. Yes, I think that's an extremely important question, and I believe that our members need to be very conversant with what the speech objectives are. And hopefully they have a mentor assigned. I think that's another critical part of that particular task, is to have a mentor, to have someone who can work through that project with them and discuss any questions they have, any concerns they might have, and perhaps share some of your own experiences or expectations with that topic, but also to encourage them to really prepare. I'm a great believer that we're helping people reach their potential in whatever field or endeavor they're seeking. And we have to really encourage them to follow the program, to do the program, and I guess find that spark. What is it that is so important to them, and how can we help them, mentor them to realize that and to be the best they can in that situation? I think, yeah, I get very frustrated actually when I have a sense that people are just sort of ticking off the list. It's like vacationers, right? Who go to all these places and say, well, we've been there, done that. And if you were to ask them a question about it, they couldn't tell you a thing. So it's that kind of idea in Toastmasters too. You know, we want depth of learning.
Wonderful. I believe, Marianne, you had an item you want to add to that?
Oh, well, when I think about that, I believe that, it is a self-paced program. You do it as you wish, but I sometimes believe everyone isn't looking to do things the same way. But setting that club culture where you're setting goals and pushing people to achieve them, not just putting them on autopilot for the year. So it really requires a super engaged VPE. And those are not easy to find, honestly, because I think a lot of people, when they get that role, they really don't understand what's involved. But the best of them are very encouraging and make sure that people are getting their speeches scheduled on time so that they do achieve their goals. So having that culture where you're getting that push from your VPE, I think is a big deal.
Wonderful, thank you. Nehal was next. Go ahead, Nehal.
Sure, I would just say I couldn't agree more with Carol and Marianne. In addition, I would say we have to make sure that your club members and your club leaders know their why. Why are they here? Why are they giving the speeches? Is it just to check the box? Is it just to complete the manual? Is it just because they want to complete the DTM before the traditional program ends? Is it because they want to be a better speaker? Is it because they want to practice? So I would just say, know your why.
Excellent. Nadia?
This is a great opportunity, great reason why we should all be embracing pathways, because it does focus you a bit more on your speeches and your projects. When we were in the competent communicator manuals and the advanced manuals, a lot of them were pretty general. Give a speech to sell the audience, give a speech to inspire the audience, but there was really no necessary focus or project that you're working towards. So you could come into a meeting week after week and hear speeches about people's cats. No slight to anyone's cat, but in pathways, you're a bit more focused, where you're either networking, you're doing a job interview, you're building your social media presence. So you're doing something in the real world, and you're coming back and you're telling us about your journey versus just trying to come up with something off the top of your head because you didn't realize you were a speaker that night and here you are. So I like that Pathways is much more focused, and I appreciate when people really embrace it, look at the projects ahead of time and prepare ahead of time.
Wonderful. We'll finish that off with Abihijeet.
One thing can improve the quality of the speeches is by giving compassionate feedback. Like one of my Toastmaster member, he gave a speech, but there was no emotion in it. I didn't feel connected to it. I just had a one-on-one. I let him know, I was reading this book and it said, if you don't have any emotions, your speech is flat. And I felt the same thing. And it helped him realize, and he's giving his next speech on Thursday. So I hope to see the difference.
Excellent. Thank you. Another question. Great comments. Another question I have. I would love to find out about, we have people who are at a certain, as I see all the lists of designations around you, how do we encourage the people who have had their journey as a DTM, as president, vice president? How do we keep them motivated to keep that quality of the club, instead of saying, hey, I've done it, I'm just going to lean back and let everybody else take over? How do we maintain that they can continue that high standard of quality as they've completed their journey without just giving up? Nadia?
Well, I guess I've been fortunate to know a lot of DTMs that remain active because we use them. We use them as mentors. We look to them as a guide. And there are positions that are available outside of the club. So whether it's to be a club growth chair where you're training people to be a club coach or be a club mentor, or if you're shadowing the PRM, giving them tips and ideas and being their right-hand person, or being the webmaster, finding out what their gifts are and using them in other ways throughout the district to keep them engaged usually does serve a great purpose. And even in the club atmosphere, they should be giving strong evaluations because they've been there. And now they're giving back and encouraging people on that same journey. They should be serving as club officers or be willing to go to the executive board meetings and put in some input if people have a question or an issue that arises. So it's not just sit back and watch all you guys try to accomplish it. They are a wealth of knowledge and they should be freely giving it.
Excellent. Thank you, Abihijeet.
I totally agree with Nadia. I'll add one more thing to that. My mentor has double DTM, and I really enjoy his mentality. His mentality is, I'm at your service. And that makes a big difference. It inspires me. The way I approach other people, it changes. Like, I'm at service for them. And that then everything is coming from my heart, and it's completely, entirely coming from my heart. And that makes a big difference, I think.
Wonderful. We're now going to switch and take some questions from the floor. I have a questions that coming up that as VP of Education, they have worked hard getting themes, keynote speeches, educational, and all of a sudden, when they go to the meeting, it's not well received. What can they do to help other people realize that what they're doing is bringing more quality to the club? Carol.
Well, we have an excellent example in our club of an excellent VP of Education who happens to be our moderator this evening. Someone who has taken it upon herself to really understand what her role is all about and to work extremely hard. As you may recall, one of the important traits I mentioned was you have to work hard. I just feel that when you put the time and the effort into something you really believe in and have that particular goal, that trait about yourself, that excellence is so important, you make things happen. And Carol, I feel like I'm off track with your question, quite frankly. I'm going to ask another panelist if you'd like to help bail me out. I think I got carried on the wrong path.
Nadia?
Well, when you talk about the things that the VP does, and I truly believe it is the most important role of the club, it's all in how you sell it, and it's all in what you bring to the club. Speechathons are for the member, not for the VPE. So if you're offering opportunities for more people to get their speeches in, it's hard to see how that does not benefit the member. Hopefully people join in on that and sign up for those roles. And when you're giving or when you're signing up people to speak for a keynote presentation at your club, just make sure that their topics are something that can translate to the real world. How to get paid for speaking, how to give your best online presentation, which is what we're all doing these days. Make sure that the topics are something that people can take away and not only use it inside of Toastmasters, but outside in their careers. And I think when people see the value of those messages, they don't have a problem signing on for it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nadia. Marianne?
Another thing is to make sure that you're asking your members what they want. Because if you're giving them things that aren't relevant to them, it might just not be hitting the mark. So by checking in with them, doing a survey monkey, just finding out, I think you learn a lot by asking those questions.
Wonderful. Now I'm going to, in that note that this VP of Ed is having difficulties motivating and working very hard to get everybody motivated. As I see and I look around, I see public relations, I see administration, I see past international. How can they get assistance from higher up? Higher, whether it's division, district, where can they find the information or who can they turn to get help? Nehal.
That is a very, very good question, especially for the current situation, since the situation in the world is changing, and so is our approach is changing from actual meeting, in-face meeting to virtual meetings. I would say, first of all, when you have these new ideas, one of the things that they can do is to make sure that you have these ideas that you want to do it for the club, and that's the betterment of the club. How about they say your ideas as a suggestion to you? So it's coming from them. So who gets to execute it? Them. Because who suggested it? Them. I didn't suggest you. Look, you suggested the idea, now help me execute that. So in a way, you are making them responsible to help get together and work with you, because it was their idea at the first place, and they have to help you and bring you along into their idea. And that can happen in a couple of ways. One is, like Marianne said, you can have a survey monkey and try to find out what the audience or the members want. And in addition to your question, Carol, we can definitely have some of the ideas that VPEs already have. They can just hype it up by having the club growth director or program quality director or the area director or division director visit the club, have a special meeting, and they announcing that our VPE and the team together has, this is what they're offering, or this is what they have for you. So once it's coming from the higher resource with a big title, sometimes it's well appreciated than just somebody from within the club who you see every week getting it to you.
Excellent. And I see two public relations managers looking at me right now. Would you like to add to that?
I can add.
Oh, Abihijeet, just one moment. Marianne, Nadia?
I don't, for me, the public relations aspect doesn't tie directly here.
Okay.
So for me, it doesn't work for me, so.
Okay.
Same.
Wonderful. Abihijeet?
Yes, I'm working with this club, and I visited them today, and I see that VP is struggling to motivate the members. I want to be the coach for that club, and I see it's like, oh, it's a massive undertaking. So now I know I need help. So I'm trying to recruit mentors for the club, get some help from the area director. So all these things, whatever resources I can get, like I have a president from a different club. He's interested in teaching them about pathways. They haven't moved on to pathways, or they haven't had any awards in pathways. So first of all, I want to start with just introducing them to pathways. And then also getting my mentors and getting another coach. Then three of us can have a strategy and plan how to bring back this club.
That's a great suggestion. Helping you, getting to know other clubs and using their resources as well. A wise lady once told me that working with quality will help not just retain members, but also help bring them in. Carol, when you strive for quality, how does that impact the club with retention or bringing in new members?
I believe it has a huge impact. And it comes back to, I think, a number of comments that the other panelists have made with regard to other questions. The why, when someone comes to a meeting, I believe people join Toastmasters because they have a very specific purpose in mind, very specific goals they wish to achieve. And when they come to that meeting, I think they see our organization as the exemplar of communication and leadership training. And we need to demonstrate that and fulfill their expectations. And I think if we don't do that, then it's a huge disappointment. And sometimes we don't see those guests come back again if they haven't seen what they expected. So I think quality, because everyone is trying to grow and achieve, they need to see what quality looks like and what is required in order achieving a standard of excellence. So I just think it's absolutely critical to a club.
Excellent, thank you. Nadia?
When you're walking in excellence and you exemplify a high level of quality, that makes your club easy to sell. That makes it so easy for people to buy in because there's a pride to your club. When you have a club that can say, I've been, we've been President's Distinguished for the past 3 years, or you're consistently seeing people move up to district leadership positions, or you're consistently representing well in club area and division contests, people see your presentation and they want to be with the club. That's great. So it's to everyone's advantage to walk in excellence and to exhibit high quality and insist on that from fellow members, everyone from the newest member to the DTMs of the club.
Excellent. Abihijeet?
I visited San Jose Toastmasters as a guest speaker. The feedback I got was so wonderful, so helpful for me to take that speech to the next level. I ended up joining that club. So honest feedback is very important. That really changes the culture of the club.
Wonderful. The next question, we have a meeting that 60% of the people are working hard, working on quality, studying, learning their roles, and it's working great. Then you have that 40% constantly canceling out on speeches, doing lackadaisical roles where they're not even paying attention. How can we motivate or encourage them to get a higher quality?
Yeah.
We'll start, Nadia.
Well, it's really difficult, and I don't even know if it's that possible to force quality on someone. So going back to what I said in the very beginning, this is your journey. You have to be responsible for your journey. You can't force anyone to move if they don't want to. What I do like to see in certain clubs is they have a chart with every position on it. So even the newest club member can pick up a chart and say, okay, this is what the timer does. This is what the grammarian does. And they know how the role works. We always have, I'm in about 4 clubs at this point. So almost all my clubs have a space for a backup speaker so that if someone does have to cancel at the last minute, you've got someone else in that slot and you just keep right on going. So I think in a lot of clubs, they have worked around people who may cancel at the last minute or may not be completely up to par, and that's fine. Not everybody is going to take their own growth seriously, but someone else canceling their speech does not affect my growth at all. So sometimes you just have to look at it that way. You can't force quality, just continue shining and being an amazing example, and hopefully they want to model that example at some point.
Thank you. Nehal?
Sure. So one of the public speaker, a writer, and a coach named Goldsberg said that a member members are always the ones who thrives under the guidance of a mentor. I cannot tell you or stress enough on having one-on-one mentors for most of the members. I would say all of the members, but at least the new members or the members who haven't achieved their first DTM until then. So mentors can help them guide. And once you have a consistent guidance and also you have an accountability to be accounted towards a mentor, that you have to make sure that he or she is going to check on you, you need to give the reasons. That's the time you kind of do a better job and you're more consistent in driving your results.
Thank you. Marianne?
I think it's important to communicate with the person who's canceled the speech to let them know how it impacts others, and that there's a big scramble. And we actually, in one of my clubs, said that it is your responsibility to find a replacement so that the VPE doesn't have to do that. And that actually worked out quite well in most situations. We also, however, have, table topics people who are very flexible and can extend their piece if we need to fill the meeting a little differently. And honestly, table topics is really one of the foundational skills. Learning to speak impromptu is important. So it's never really a bad thing, and it usually adds to the fun of the meeting.
Thank you. Abihijeet?
I had a girl, I'm the VP of my club. I had a girl in my club. She canceled. The one thing which I did was I didn't write her off. I stayed with her and I tried to understand what was the reason for her canceling. And when I got to understand that, it really changed me. I had a lot of empathy for her. And we worked it out in such a way that when she had a slot next time, she was able to do that. Just staying with her, connecting with her, and be compassionate with her. That really helped her.
Wonderful. Carol, would you like to add anything?
I think those are all important reasons. Sometimes when we need to understand what is the cause, I think, behind member speech cancellations, when members aren't meeting their expectations. Is there something going on in their life that we're not aware of? And I think, as the other panelists commented, getting to know those members and helping them with whatever they're needing to deal with. I guess it's part of not assuming that they're just copping out all the time. There may be something else that is happening, and helping them, understanding that and helping them with that through conversation with them. Heartful, meaningful conversation.
Wonderful, thank you. That is a fast 40 minutes. We haven't even touched the surface of all the questions that came in. Panelists, if you're willing to answer these questions offline, I'll be able to send it to our audience members if you'd like to answer them and willing, and I'll be able to pass that on to our audience to help them with the questions they had regarding quality. Before we wrap up, would you like, Nadia, would you like to have any summation of your discussion on quality?
Well, I would. Thank you, Carol. Just in parting, just as Marianne quoted earlier today, we do learn best in times of enjoyment. So don't forget to have fun. There are over 16,000 clubs in the world, but every single club has its own personality. And people join a club because of the warmth and the camaraderie that they see when they walk through those doors. So don't forget to just hone your own personality, your special niches, whatever it is that you stand for that separates you from the next club. Be true to that and honor that and have fun with that. And that will sell people, your personality, the warmth, and how welcoming you are when they walk through the doors.
Thank you, Nadia. And I know our time with you is limited. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Marianne.
I would just ask people to think about shaking things up. There are so many resources for us, from Toastmasters International to all the Facebook pages, and just other members, other clubs, having partnered meetings, having meetings in a different location, but to just do things that make it more fun and interesting for the members, so it's not always the same old thing. And I think you'll find that people are very receptive to new things. That and understanding, what they're there for.
Thank you, Marianne. Abihijeet?
I want to end with two things. I want to quote my fellow Toastmaster, Ravi. He told me, Toastmaster is a place where we learn to communicate. There is no other place that we can learn so much. So that is one thing. The second thing is, the more we give, the more we get. This is a place where if you give, you are going to get more back. So enjoy it, enjoy the ride.
Thank you, Abihijeet. Nehal.
Thank you for having me here, Carol. It was a wonderful discussion. I would just leave all of us with three things as a summary. Remember, anywhere, wherever you go, whatever you do, including your clubs and Toastmasters, try to always be authentic. Know that it is okay to be vulnerable and make mistakes as far as you get back up. And just know that you need to lead with the example. If you follow these three things, the quality will follow you, excellence will follow you, and quantity will come as quality follows. Thank you.
Thank you, Nehal. Carol?
Thank you very much, Carol. I think we need to continue to strive to be really committed to having the kinds of results we want in a quality way. I think we need to be mindful of our commitment to performance, and I think we need to evaluate everything that we do with a view to exceeding or at least meeting the expectations. I think evaluation is a critical component of our club meetings, not only speech evaluations, but the overall club meeting and the various ways in which the roles have been carried out. And I think when we do, we create that club culture of excellence. We set the bar high, and that causes others to then excel to reach that bar. I'm going to lead with one other quotation that is, don't lower your expectations to meet your performance. Raise your performance to meet your expectations. So it's all about excellence and doing the best we can at all times with the support of our fellow members.
Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you all panelists for taking the time to be a part of this. It's such an important discussion on quality. It's been as VP of Ed, it has been near to my heart, and it's very dear. And this discussion could go on for another couple of hours, but our time is up. And I really appreciate that you're able to answer the questions and to help our audience members learn more about quality, and that hopefully that this discussion will continue. Thank you very much, and have yourself a great evening.